and happy Wisdom Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in and for choosing to spend some of your time with me. It's your girl Maria Milagros here, and we are approaching the end of a month, the end of a year, and the end of a decade. A whole decade is ending, and one of the things that I really love to do at the end of every month is to take some time to reflect back upon that month. Either I look at my calendar, I look at some pictures or whatever I have that's available. I sit with my daughter, I just think about different events and things that we went to, and I reflect upon the month and I look at all the things that I have to be grateful for and to celebrate and all the moments of like growth and accomplishment and achievement, right? And then I found that when I started practicing this a few years ago, the more that I do this, and the more that I feel like I really live this amazing life because I'm paying attention to the little things and the big things that make life so amazing. And it's not always about like the huge accomplishments. It's about the moments of growth. It's about, sometimes it's even about the parts that don't necessarily feel so good, right? Those tougher times, because even in those tougher times, I'm able to look back and say, but I'm still here. And I overcame that, which means I have the skills that I need, or I'm growing, or I'm expanding, and I've survived, right? I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it. You have survived 100% of your worst days, which means you have the capacity within yourself to continue to do so. And then if we change the perspective, our perception, then they're not necessarily worse days. There are days that sometimes challenge us, yes, but without the challenge, how would we know what we're made of? How do we know what we're capable of? How do we know how strong, how creative, how smart we are, right? The work that we choose to do, for most people who choose to do the work that they do, you'll find that you choose that work because it challenges you in a way that expands you and forces you to grow and come out of your comfort zone, because the most amount of growth happens outside of our comfort zone. So even those tougher times are good. And then I'm even thinking about, in terms of the fullness of this year, the deaths that I've had to face and deal with, right? And even then, I found spaces of celebration because I was able to celebrate the memories of the person who's no longer with us. I was able to celebrate the reality that death is inevitable, right? And I say this in all seriousness. I celebrate the reality that death is inevitable. And the more that I really allow myself to come to terms with my mortality, the more that I'm able to live fuller, freer, more authentic, because if I know that death is coming, I am going to spend less time fearing living, right? Like that's just, so anyways, that's a whole other thing. So even in those spaces, I find that it forces me to operate from a deeper place of love and gratitude. So there's always so much to celebrate. So this is no different than that. And I know that it's like the middle of the month and we're not fully at the end of the month yet, but this is the perfect time to spend some time reflecting on the entirety of the year. And this gives you some time, a couple of weeks before New Year's, where you can really carve out some time and sit with your calendar, sit with your phones, sit with your Instagram feed, right? And just go through and really give yourself room to celebrate all the different moments in your life. The good, the tough, the death, all of it. Really give yourself room to celebrate, to see where you learned, to see where you grew, to see where even you missed it, because in the awareness of you're missing it, that's growth, right? All of that is really just such a fantastic way to end one year and to move into another. Now, speaking of moving into another, I want us to be intentional about how we live our lives. It's such a big, important part of everything that I do is intentionality. Intentional in the energy that we bring into our spaces, intentional in who we are and what we want and how we choose to live our lives, right? So I want to say this. When we are done reviewing and reflecting the year, the real challenge that's going to force us to step outside of our comfort zones and it's going to make us grow and stretch and expand is, can we then review and reflect and then release it all? And I do mean release it all. Choose to not continue to carry the suffering from anything that was tough. Choose to not continue the pain from where you might have missed it. Choose to not even continue holding on to a feeling that was good that you want to replicate. Because when we do that, I think about this one instance where my daughter said she had this great day and she wanted the next day to be just like that day. And she created this expectation that this day was going to be just like this day. And because she held on to that expectation, she didn't allow the day to evolve and be what it was supposed to be. And then she felt disappointed. And then the brilliant thing was that she herself recognized that she didn't give it room. Right? So when I say release it, that's what I'm talking about. Really opening ourselves up to the potential and the possibilities and the power that comes from learning and growing, and then releasing anything else. I'm going to take all the lessons, I'm going to take all the growth, I'm going to take all the love, I'm going to take all the gratitude with me, but I'm not going to hold on to anything, right? I'm going to just let it go so that I can step into this new year, this new month, this new decade with a clean slate, right? Clean slate. Now, I would love to say that you make the decision and then boom, voila, it's done. That's not real though. So we make the decision, and then once we make the decision, we have to constantly bring ourselves back to that decision, right? So that when things start to come up and you start to create expectation, you can then see it for what it is and say, oh, I see you. I know why you're here. I'm used to practicing that particular expectation. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you go because I'm making room for the potential and the possibilities and the power that comes from the new, from the fresh, from the beginning, from the start, from whatever you want to call it, right? So that's my challenge for you, is really take the time, first and foremost, take the time to reflect and review your year, the good, the tough, the death, all of it, right? See where you can learn, grow, expand in love and gratitude, and then use that growth to release everything else so that you can start to move into the new year. And then when something comes up, this is why it's important that we reflect, because when stuff comes up, you can say, oh no, I already dealt with you. I saw you, I dealt with you, I processed you. We're good. You can go now. I see you, you can go. Release, 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 right? If you don't process, reflect, and review, it's going to persist. And what you resist will persist, right? I don't remember who said that, but that's the truth. So that's the challenge. Review and reflect, and then release. Start the process of releasing so that you can move into the new year with a clean slate. Your new decade, yo. It's a new decade. All right, that's all I have for you. If you know someone who can benefit from it, please share it. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. And if you have any questions or you're like, what the what? Hit me up. I'm here for you. I love you so much. There's nothing you can do about it. Peace.